Go ahead and make sure everyone's on mute. Me and Andy are going to role play. We're going to go through a top to bottom PFA, and then we're going to kind of open it up some open Q&A as we go. Okay. So Andy, you want to let's start us off, and I'll pretend to be the member, and we'll role play as we go. So I just came in. I came to the front desk. I checked in and got my key card.
Yes. We sent them the we sent them the member portal link ahead of time, so we got them set up into the system already, so we're not taking any time out of our PFA to go through that. So the first thing that I want to do with you as my prospective member, Ben, is to get to know you a little bit. So I want to ask clarifying questions and identify what brings you in today. So not just what your goals are, but what your motivators are. So you want to actually just role play?
We're going to role play. Yes.
This is going to be real quick for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't have anything to write down on. Shoot.
The one thing I do want to point out, guys, if you're taking a lot of time at the beginning via, the member portal or just getting to know them, there's obviously steps before that where you should have called to confirm their appointment. You should have met them when they joined. You should already know the person. So this isn't a cold meeting. This is a warm meeting. Okay. So Andy made a good point. Hey, I already sent you the member portal. Actually, I already got you set up on the member portal. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to waste 10 minutes having someone pull their phone out to get on the member portal. Do it beforehand. Do it the day they join. Or have them come early to get set up on it is a great idea. Okay. All right. Continue.
For sure. Just as a touch point on that, I never do the member portal with them because I think it's a waste of time. So either they've completed it ahead of time or I get them to do it afterwards, unless they're signing up for EFT. And that'd be the only time that in the event that they didn't do it ahead of time, we do it right there. Yeah. So, all right, we're going to go over clarifying questions, figure out why you're here. So Ben, what brings you in today?
I need to exercise. My doctor said I need to.
Your doctor said you need to? Is that something that you realized for yourself, or is that
I've known it for a long time, but my doctor nudgingly made me come. So
nudgingly?
Yes.
That's nice of it. Is this something that your doctor has just told you now that's important? Or
no, this has been the 10th time he's told me. I haven't exercised in 10 years. So
okay. So should we just go through 10 meetings together?
So then I hear it and then I finally get it. Yeah.
So okay. So what what do you think would really motivate you to stick with this? So it was enough of a pain point for you to get started, right? But I don't want this to just be one of those times that you start and we don't get to that end destination.
I think if I feel better, or if I see some success, I'll want to keep with it.
Okay, so you're insinuating you don't feel great right now?
I do not at all.
Okay, but again, that's not a huge motivator for you. Otherwise, you would have.
Hadn't been previously. Okay. Now it's more of a health benefit of it's gotten so bad I need to get it better now for health purposes.
Okay. But you haven't felt healthy
for a long time.
For a long time. Okay, so that still isn't a great motivator for you either.
Correct.
What do you think it would take for it to be a bigger motivator for you? Or what do you think it would take for, is there another goal that you may have in mind that you might be more motivated to pursue?
I want to be able to do family activities together and not be so winded or out of shape I can't participate.
Okay.
So that would be a big motivator.
Do you have any upcoming that would motivate you to want to be
family reunion in 6 months' time?
Okay. So 6 months from now, if we were to fast forward, what are some physical goals you think that would align with, you being in great shape for that reunion? Obviously, it's a much longer process than that. And we've talked about whole lifestyle here just already, right? Where you want to change a lot of things. Your doctor wants you to change your health, et cetera. But what would make you, proud in 6 months' time to say, yeah, I did that? What would make all this worth it?
I'd be able to go on the family reunion and go on our hiking or kayaking or swimming activities and not have to sit out because I'm out of shape.
When's the last time that you were able to do those activities and not sit out?
10 years ago.
It's been a decade since you were able to do that? Wow. Yep. I appreciate you sharing that with me. What other health or medical concerns do I need to be aware of? So what was it that alarmed your doctor?
High blood pressure, and I'm pre-diabetic now. And it's to the point where if I don't take care of it now, I will end up having to take medication for diabetes. Okay.
Do they already have you on metformin or?
They do not, but my doctor threatened me pretty good. The next visit, I will probably be on metformin. I'm not going to make lifestyle changes. That's why I'm here.
Are you against pharmaceuticals enough to want to pursue this naturally, obviously through exercise? And
I prefer not to.
Okay. Prefer not to?
I don't know anyone that wakes up and says, I would really like to take medication today. So
unfortunately, we see a lot when they start their program. So that's something that we want to avoid. So just to recap, it sounds like to me like our biggest issue, I mean, over the last decade, if not more, has been establishing that consistent habit of exercise. Did I get that right? It's been the getting started. It's not that you've like not known that exercise is important to you, or that you've been in the gym and just not been efficient. It's that we haven't been consistent. Did I get that right?
That would be correct.
Okay, so what we have to do today is, come to a decision on how we're going to navigate the club moving forward to where we can be consistent enough to see the results that you're looking for. So where you actually feel better and you feel like all your effort, if you will, was worthwhile at that family reunion 6 months from now.
Yes.
Fair enough?
Sounds fair.
Cool. All right. We'll have to figure out how we do that, and we'll come to that decision at the end. So I can't be the first person that you've told this to. So what else have you tried in the past?
Walking and just different kinds of diets.
Okay, be a little bit more specific for me. What is
As far as the kinds of diets?
Yes.
Atkins, keto, paleo, the donut diet, and the burrito diet.
Okay, so diets have never worked for you.
They have
Is that
not.
what you're saying?
They work for like 2-3 weeks and then they stop. And then walking just, once the weather changes, it gets cold.
So Dan, it sounds like you've tried everything.
Somewhat.
So just out of curiosity, is there any reason why maybe you've been opposed to considering working with a professional in the past?
It probably just wasn't important enough to me, and I rationalized why I shouldn't.
It wasn't enough of a priority.
Yeah.
What do you think would make it enough of a priority this time around? that kind of goes back to what we're talking about.
I feel like I probably have it now, just with how much more my health has decreased and my weight's continued to increase every year. So
okay. So if we don't avoid this trajectory, things are not going to go well for us.
Correct.
Okay, we're going to try to intervene. So
Yeah.
if we were to intervene and try to work with you this time around, what would you find most valuable? Like, where can I assist you? As a fitness professional, or how can my team assist you?
probably show me how to work out, some of the machines, and how to exercise.
Okay, so some education,
Sure.
right? Some knowledge. And that's both in the weight room and then nutritionally as well.
Yeah, I probably need some help there. I don't really know what I'm doing.
Okay. Now, you knew that walking was good for you, and you've obviously tried a bunch of these diets.
I knew walking was better for me than sitting on the couch.
Sitting on the couch, that's good.
And I knew I needed to lose weight, so I tried the diets.
Okay, so do you feel like a little bit of motivation, potentially some accountability, so that might be,
Probably not a bad thing.
okay,
I'm
especially
open to it.
in establishing that new consistent habit of exercise. And then putting those workouts together, I'm sure you're aware, like making sure that there's a game plan with how those progress is really important as well. How did you go about progressing your walking program in the past? Was it something that you did, or?
Just however long my dog would last.
Okay. So not even limited by yourself, just by your dog. Okay.
Yes.
So of the things that you'd mentioned, right? We mentioned motivation, accountability, structure, and knowledge. Which of those, would you find beneficial to your program this time around?
Motivation, for sure.
Okay.
Obviously, I've been lacking that for a long time.
Okay. I know we had mentioned all of them.
Yeah, they don't look so bad.
Would there be any reason why you wouldn't consider working with a trainer this time around?
I'm pretty open to the idea. I think it might just be a cost.
Fair enough. And you've never worked with a fitness professional
I have
before,
no
right?
idea what a normal rate is, but I'm
For sure.
sure it costs money.
And I'm not your accountant either, so that's going to be up to you. But so hypothetically, between 0 days a week and 7 days a week, right?
Yeah.
If training hypothetically were free, how many days a week would you work with a coach?
With a coach?
Yeah. If we could give you those things that you were looking for.
Twice, 3. I'm
How many days a week are you going to work out with?
with a trainer.
In general, how many days a week were you planning?
Probably 4 or 5. I thought would be good. to
Okay,
start.
so the majority of the time that you're in, so
Yeah.
I think it'd be fair to say at the end of our time together today, I'm just gonna roll out all the options for you
Yeah.
to hopefully get you as much help as we can. Does that sound fair enough?
That sounds fair.
Awesome. So before we kind of explore your health and fitness a little bit further, I just want to kind of gauge, after with everything we've talked about, how important would you say your health and fitness goals are for you, right? Before we go into some recommendations and before we go exploring this in great detail, how committed would you say you are to your health and fitness program?
I would say I'm very committed this time around.
Okay.
Like, this is a need to do now. I can't keep putting it off.
So scale 1 to 10, right at 10.
I'd say a 9.8.
Okay.
So pretty-
I want to know what it would take to get you to a 10. Anything off the top of your head?
Not that really comes to my brain, but just, I've got to do this.
Right. Reason being is whenever we see someone come in where it's not like a 10 out of 10 priority
Yeah.
for us, we end up finding things along the way that just steal that motivation away.
I think it maybe a time constraint would be one fear of mine.
Okay, so as long as we can account for time and
Yeah.
be efficient with our scheduling and how we can help
Yes.
you out, then
Yeah.
we'll be in a good spot. So 10 out of 10. Where do you say that your health and fitness levels are at right
I am at a 1.0.
now? Damn.
Yes.
All right, so we have a gap.
I mean,
that
it's
we
been
can
10
help-
years of only walking my dog, so
That's fair, but most people like lie about where they were in high school or college, like.
I
don't think they're there, so.
I'm very
Where?
I'm very aware.
Okay, so that's a large gap to fill, but that's, I mean, you're in the right spot. That's what
Yes.
we're here to help you do. And you're ready to get started on this today, right? I know that may sound
Yes.
like a weird question, but some people like
Oh.
to just do recon and then never actually solve their problem.
I mean, I could come back in 10 years, like we talked about.
Well, apparently you had to see your doctor sometime, so.
So
You're aware.
in 10 days, you know,
Okay.
well, you're ready.
Fair enough. All right, but we're ready to get started today. Okay, from there, I'd go through the VO2.
Yep.
The
So
movement screen.
physiological measurements, VO2, if you want to do movement screening, strength testing, we have some best practices with that. I do want to open it up to questions right now. I think it's a good place to kind of pause. So obviously, you notice Andy did a really nice job of being very open-ended and guiding the member to see where we're going to head to later, but also really identifying where they're at now. So both a commitment level and accurate fitness level where they're at now. But let's open it up, open Q&A. I'm sure you guys have some questions. Very, very good question. So if you noticed, Andy did a good job of asking about the commitment level to the program. He got them to commit to the idea of having a trainer first. So you need to identify both those two needs first, and then later you can go into the price presentation. So he did a great job of asking me like, hey, are you ready to change? And where is your fitness level? Where do you want your fitness level to be at? And then looking at where the gaps are at there. And then he's like, well, a trainer would obviously help you. We'll go over your options later. And the reason you want to do it is kind of twofold. One, you want to talk to them about time frame to get to their results. So I see a lot of times, and I know a lot of you guys are good at building relationships. You're good at talking to them, okay? But we aren't coming in with every club sitting 10 grand in new business revenue. So take this with a grain of salt. You need to be pitching the idea of a trainer and then length of time it's going to be taking to work with that trainer to achieve, you know, the ultimate success of that person. Okay. So this means like this guy he's talking with, he's not going to reach his goals in a month, 2 months, 3 months. He's talking about 6 months for an event, but he's had 10 years of non-exercising. Are his goals going to stop after 6 months? No. So we're probably looking at an ongoing interaction with this person, right? So that would be the first thing I'll tell you. Number two is, well, what kind of trainer are we going to put them with? Is this person going to do hours or half hours or groups? Are they going to be once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week? So even though I kind of gave Andy an idea of like, hey, I think maybe 2 or 3 times a week, I might need 5 times a week to start. Remember, I've had 10 years of not doing this stuff. I knew it was good for me and I never did. Okay. So that should factor in our prescription when we come to the programming. Okay. I tell you what, we're going to go ahead and fast forward. We'll open up the questions at the end, guys. So let's go to our bread and butter, which is this intake form. I'm going to have Andy run through that kind of quickly, somewhat, and then we'll go over questions and Q&As. So,
and if we get kicked off, what we can do is Ben and I can record out the rest of it and then send that.
we'll send it to
So I
you.
think we're going to get kicked off.
Yeah, we got about what, 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, guys. All right, let's go through it as far as we can, and we'll go from there.
Yep. So after the workout portion, ideally, I mean, we've talked for 10-15 minutes in the office, then
Yep.
we've spent 20-30 minutes out on the floor, leaving yourself with 20 minutes back in the office for this programming prescription action plan piece. So that's what I'm going to go through now. Minimize this. So I didn't get your name.
John.
John. All right, John. So I feel like I'm really clear with where we're at right now and where we want to get to. Okay.
Yep.
So just to recap, so that we're all clear, right? We've talked about our X factor, our biggest problem that we have to solve being consistency, right? We've known that, I mean, exercise is important to us. We've known that it was necessary for the results and for feeling better. And now your doctors hemming and hawing about making sure that you're in here, right? We know that we need to establish a consistent habit of exercise, and our whole goal with our exercise prescription is going to be how we decide on solving that problem. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So that's the problem that we have to solve. So to recap, we said that we were looking to increase our energy, increase our overall health and fitness. Right, based on our fitness assessment, we've found that ideally we'd be losing 50 pounds.
Yep.
We'd be losing 20% body fat to get into that healthy range. We want to increase our VO2 by 2 stages so that we can drop your blood pressure, ideally off medication within a 3 to 6 month time frame, but then also increase your insulin sensitivity so that you're not at risk of prediabetes, etc.
I'm gonna take a quick pause. Make sure you guys, when your district cursor work, if you use it on there, if you could highlight X factor and then goal. So what Andy's doing is he's listing out 4 or 5 goals on there. If you see this page, yep. So you see the detail in the goals. Anytime we do intake form audits, a lot of times there's not enough goals written down. It's those people I feel like never sign up. So be very specific, very thorough, and give them more goals than even what they came in and told you. Andy did a great job earlier. He asked for a minimum, if you didn't notice, of 3 different goals that he wanted me to help achieve. Okay, and he kept asking, kept searching and finding, and the rationale behind each of those. So a quick little segue there, very detailed on the goal range, and then continue on. You're about to head to your timeframes.
Yep, big logical and emotional tie downs
Yes.
on these goals. This is where you should almost overflow every single time up into that top space there on the intake form.
Yep.
All right, so to go over target dates, okay. Now it depends kind of how you like to attack your goals. Do you feel like you're the type of person that likes to go, more all in, you're 100% committed to this, right? You want to be a little bit more aggressive, where in that timeline, if we're trying to get our body fat percentage down 20%, okay, we can aggressively lose 2% body fat every single month. If you'd like to be a little bit more conservative and you're more the type of person that just like dips their toes into things and try to a little bit more cautiously, it's more of a 20-month time frame. So do you feel like you're more the type of person that wants to go all in at this, or would you rather be a little bit more cautious?
I want to go all in, but I also know I feel like, because I haven't done this for so long and I'm so out of shape, if I'm too sore, it may be a deterrent to keep me from wanting to keep going.
Completely understand. So this is going to be independent of the actual workouts and progressions themselves. Yeah. So out of the gate, our workouts are going to be, appropriate for you, where it's not going to leave you sore for 7 days, 10 days, ideally, right? But we can still look at losing 2% through nutrition, through recovery means. So there's other things that we can do. So when I talk about aggressive versus conservative, I'm not talking about the workout intensity. I'm more talking about the interaction that we have with you in order to help you experience faster results. Does that make sense?
Yes, it is.
So, and we can kind of split the difference too, depending on what you're looking for.
If I get more results, I'm okay with that, but I don't want to go too quick, too fast to the point where I feel defeated.
Completely understand, right? And that might be where we can step in and help you with some other modalities as well. So you talked about being in the gym 5 days a week, right? Yep. Our goal duration out of the gate would be 60 minutes at a shot. And then what time of day do you feel like you can be the most consistent?
Morning time before work.
Before work? Perfect. That's when our most consistent members work out.
Too much stuff happens in the evening, so mornings would be great.
So what time in the mornings before work for you?
7 a.m.
Where it gives you enough time?
6 to 7 to 8, somewhere in that range. 6, 7.
It's a big range. Okay.
6 to 8.
Okay. Because I'm thinking off the top of my head, I feel like I have a couple of treatments that I think that you would be a good fit with at that 7 a.m. time frame. Okay. So to recap, we're going to come down here on the sheet, this little arch deal. Okay. To identify what we call in psychology an interaction gap. So the difference between where you're at right now and what you want to achieve, okay, and where we currently stand with our fitness level. So we set our commitment level on a scale of 1 to 10 was a 10, right? We know this is super important to you, where it's going to cross over into all your other priorities in life. Our fitness level, you set a 1.5 based on our testing today. I put you at a 3. So we'll use my number because it sounds nicer. So congratulations, you're fitter on day 1. So our interaction gap would be a 7. Which means our ideal course of action with you would be 3 days a week, or 3 to 4 days actually, where we have interaction with you one-on-one. Okay. And what that is going to include is essentially we're going to take ownership on everything to do with your health and fitness, nutrition, and we're going to give you all the resources that you need, and we talked about before. We're going to supplement in on group fitness on days that that would be most appropriate. So for you, probably 1 day a week, right, where we fit in either something for recovery or for more cardio supplement. And then the last form of interaction strategy that we have is what we call individual exercise prescription, or how I want you to look at that's like homework. So that's not just going to be that's not just going to be the workouts that you do on your own when you're not with your trainer or not in a group fitness class, That's going to include the recovery work at home. So you're not sore. You're not feeling like you're biting off more than you can chew.
Right.
That's
That's
going
going
to
to
be
be a concern. So
for sure. That's going to include your nutrition plan, where we're going to give you everything that you need to be, everything you need to be successful in that area. It's going to include corrective exercise. It's going to include stuff for as you travel. Essentially, it's going to account for the other 165 hours that you're not with your trainer. Does that make sense? So it makes it more of a comprehensive game plan for you.
Gotcha.
How does that sound as far as a starting point?
Makes sense.
It doesn't sound like a bad starting point.
No.
Would you be opposed to us going through then how we can make this program work for you? Like what the options are starting out?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. So how much time we have? Less than a minute. Awesome. So we're gonna record this and we're gonna send it out to you guys.
Let's actually really quick, any questions from you guys, and we'll go and record it. One thing we'll go over is the different kinds of objections everyone runs into. Do you guys have certain objections you want to make sure we touch on more than others?
All right, guys, so we're going to pick up where we left off in talking about transitioning into our price presentation. Before we did that, then you want to talk a little bit about making sure that we're presenting programs as opposed to presenting products.
Yes, a lot of times, both Andy and I were talking, we realized some of our ones that don't close really well is all of a sudden they make it more about the product and the price point versus the program and the time frame that program is going to take. So we've already gone through, hey, we know this is an ongoing either 6, 9, 12-month journey we're about to go on, but we're only going to talk to them about a 12-pack or EFT that only gets them to their first month or second month. So we want to put it in their head that we are continuously engaged in ongoing changing their life.
For sure. So for this individual, we've talked about 6 months and trying to get in as best shape as we possibly can for that reunion. But then I gave you a choice of timeline between 10 and 20 months, and you balked at a little bit being like super aggressive and super committed, and that's fine. So we backed off a little bit, right? So I know that you're kind of in the middle. Okay, so you already have that range that they're understanding of. So we want to talk about how do we package our interaction to get them there, and essentially it's up to them how they want to piece together the financial side, if you will, to give them the frequency that they need. So
100%.
What we had presented was 3 days a week of personal training,
Yep.
where I feel like I have a great trainer that would be a good fit for you. Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 a.m. Right? If you feel like we can do that, and then 1 day a week where we supplement in with some group fitness class that I feel would be appropriate, and then 1 day a week where you come in and practice on your own to create some self-sufficiency, but also it gives you time to practice so that I know that you really learned something, so where we can advance that down the road. And then that will also encompass the other 165 hours a week that you're not with your trainer. And then does that sound like a bad starting point? You said no.
Sounds like a great plan.
Perfect. So would you be opposed to us going through kind of how we can piece together this program for you? Right.
Sounds great. How you want to be my next question? Perfect. What does it cost?
For sure. So kind of our 3 most popular plans would be the first and foremost, our 36 pack, which is going to be the most that I can let you do as a brand new member with us. Down the road, you want to do 100 sessions, 200 sessions at a time, swing for the fences, go for it, right? I'm all for it. At the gate, the most I'll let you do is 36. Our second most popular option, if you want to bite off slightly less, I know that you're concerned about coming out too aggressive, right? Could be that 24 pack. Our third option would be if you wanted to set this up like a monthly reoccurring plan or a subscription plan. If you're worried about being consistent, sometimes this is the best option for you or for our members. So you could do a 12 times a month subscription program. Now with all of these, we want you to stick at that 3 times a week for at least three months, right? Before we look at deviating at all from that frequency, if you will. So out of those 3 options, which sounds best to you?
I'm not necessarily opposed to any of them, but I mean, obviously I need to do this. So what does it cost me for each one?
Which one do you want me to break down for you?
Could we start with the first 2?
Sure. So side note is regardless of what you say, I always make you pick one. So what I like to do when I'm teaching trainers how to do this is don't be so concerned about responding to what they say. I know that sounds like a no-no with active listening, but in reality, it really doesn't matter. You want to make sure that you're able to drill down on one and help empower that person with decision rights. And you can't do it when they're in their head and they're throwing out smoke screens and they don't understand their own thinking and how to empower themselves to make a decision. So we need to help them do that. And it's typically the same process for everybody. So I always make them pick one before I drill down. right? So you said the first
Right.
two, right?
The first two were the paid in full options.
Right,
So
36 or 24.
this is a guy where he's like, I might be traveling here and there. Time was the one concern. So the subscription might scare this person.
For sure.
He wants to go over.
Right, so let's just start out for the most popular, right?
Mhm.
That'd be our 36 pack, that'd be 3,600. Ready to roll?
Seems a lot at once. What does the other one look like?
Okay, so just out of curiosity, does the whole
Mhm.
program make sense to you? Do you like the program?
I
So
like the program a lot, but just forking over really $4,000 right on day one might be a little much.
completely understand. So I'm gonna move out of our role playing again for a second.
Yes.
So same thing as before, I make you pick one, but then I go through the loops, and those are gonna be regardless of objection.
Mhm.
Okay, so regardless of whether it's spouse, regardless of whether it's financial, regardless of whether it's I want to think about it, regardless of the sky's blue outside, right? It doesn't matter what the objection is. I'm going to go through the same looping process either way. Because again, I want to help this person make a decision, and they don't know how to make the decision. Otherwise, you would have been here 6 months ago, 6 years ago.
10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
10, in this case,
Yeah.
10 years ago, you said you've needed everything that personal training has to offer. It's just a matter of you've never sat across from me yet. So I want to make sure I can give you that decision-making power. So the first loop is going to be what we call the do it anyway loop. Okay.
Yep.
So we have actually objected now. Okay. So I reflexively asked a couple of questions. Does the program make sense to you? Do you like the program?
Yep.
And you had said,
And I agreed. I like both of the program and the recommendation.
Awesome. I really do think it's the best course of action for us starting out, because it gives us all the things that we've been looking for, that we talked about before: the motivation, the accountability, the structure, the knowledge to help us establish that consistency. Would you be opposed to giving it a shot for just like a 3-month period, a 90-day time frame, to where we get you started and then we can kind of reassess from there? Obviously, best case scenario, right? It works like I think it will, like it's worked for thousands of other members that we've worked with before. Worst case scenario, right? You work with us for 3 months, you chalk it up on your list of everything you've tried that hasn't worked, right? What do you say? The paleo diet,
All of them.
5 diets,
all the diets. Yeah.
So would you be up for just giving it a shot for 90 days or 3 months?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I only had to use one loop. So,
Yes.
so then we got started. So give me another objection. Or you
So-
the $4,000 at once, right?
$4,000 at once. So from there, like Andy did a good job. He went back to his time frame. So again, everyone I see this happen a lot is they go just over the prices. Obviously, he's committing to the 3 months. He said 3 times a week was fine. That's a 36 pack.
Mhm.
Okay, but maybe it's all at once. He doesn't want to commit to that. So for him, he might just drop to a 24. Okay, that's a great way to start.
Completely understand.
Yeah. So let's say I just need to get my spouse on board. That's another one we hear a lot is an objection. If I am going to spend $3,600, I need to make sure my wife is okay with that. That's a big purchase.
So you brought the wife up later.
Yes.
Okay, most people won't do that. They'll bring it
after the price preset.
after the price pre's up.
Yeah.
That first they object over price.
Yeah.
Normally the wife isn't the second one. Normally they'll use the wife as the first one.
I had a guy literally do this last week.
Really
Price first and then went to because of the wife, but didn't say it at first.
interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so
But then you are right. They usually go spouse right away. Well, they didn't say price, but they say it's spouse.
interesting. So now I would still go through
Yes.
the second loop. I
Yeah.
just found that interesting, but I'll
Yeah.
still go through the same loops in order before I ever adjust frequency or before I ever
Yeah.
adjust my prescription. So the second loop is going to be the what if it were perfect loop. Okay, you mind if I ask you another question just for clarity, because I want to make sure that we can get you started on some path to help you navigate the club moving forward. What if you felt like this was the perfect solution for you, right? It checked all the boxes, it gave you everything that you were looking for that we had talked about before, and you felt like it was the perfect solution, right? Would you do it then? I mean,
Yes.
even regardless of what you felt like your spouse would, think would be the best course of action for you.
Yes.
Awesome. So what do you think the difference is between that perfect program and this program as it stands right now?
Probably about $1,500 too much.
So just the price.
Yes.
Well, not the program that your wife.
If I go that high, I'm going to hear from the wife for a long time.
Completely understand. So what you're doing is you're cutting through that secondary objection,
Yes.
that potential smoke screen again,
Yeah.
right? Or you're discovering hesitation, which a lot of people have around making a decision and making
So-
purchases.
And this might be good. This did happen. The other is the same person, and their hesitation was the time. Well, I know sometimes on Tuesdays, you put Tuesday for trainer was a good idea. I don't know if I can make it that day consistently.
Mhm.
I'm hesitating because of the time. So you would go through looping again.
Yeah, completely understand. If we can
Yeah.
come up with a program that kind of accounts for that time equation, right? Because obviously when you have limited time, it becomes that much more important what you're doing in order to give you the ROI that you're still looking for. So we're going to be able to help you navigate that. Okay. Does that kind of help overcome that hesitation that you were having? Right. Right. We can overcome it once they're honest.
Yes.
Right. It's a whole lot easier to problem solve.
And usually with the time thing, they're thinking their schedule, all the stuff that's coming up. So this is a great opportunity to go back to, well, remember why you're investing in the trainer is to be consistent. And this is a great time to go back to X Factor. If you have an appointment, you know you're more likely to show up, and we have data to back that up. But this is how we change people as a human interaction. So
for sure. So 10,000 foot view on objections is cognitive distortions, things that they're blaming their lack of success on that aren't actually the real reason. They haven't taken ownership, right?
And all of these you should have asked earlier in the first 15 minutes of meeting them. So I think that's a big disconnect, is everyone thinks, oh, you wait till you do the price pre-zone, that's when you overcome objections. You actually have already overcome them earlier. Now you're just revisiting them. And Andy made a great point. You're cutting through the smoke screen to get them to see your big view.
We're problem solving, for sure. So we went through the what if it were perfect loop, right? Let's say we stuck with money, right? Honestly was just 1,500 too much, right? So which in reality is really the only true objection, because if it were free, they wouldn't be talking to their spouse about it. They wouldn't be they wouldn't even be thinking about it. It'd be a no-brainer. So how do I help them get from that no-brainer to actually what they're willing to invest, right? Or the value that we've really built up in the program. So if we've gone through the second loop, right, we've cut through any potential hesitation that they might have. The third loop is old school feel, felt, found. So the only one that I'm not asking a reflexive question on, right? I'm going to give a little bit of explanation first. So you know what, John, right? I completely understand how you feel, because a lot of my best clients before they got started felt the exact same way. Now what they found, right, and what we find with everybody that just gets started, for some strange reason, nothing is harder than investing in ourselves and figuring out how we're going to navigate this new journey. But we know that nothing delivers greater returns either. So we want to make sure that we still find a solution. So just for clarity, right, is it the upfront investment that gives you the only pause, the only concern, or is it about the length of time we're talking about committing to this health and fitness program for, right? Are we just scared of that commitment period, right? Which of those two is it for you?
Probably just the commitment period. I kind of mentioned the time.
Thinking about doing this for like 10, 12 months. Right, or in your case, 15 months potentially, depending if you want to be more conservative.
Correct, because I know I'm very deconditioned, very out of shape, and it's a longer process. So
completely understand. And I would say 80% of the time I get the upfront investment. 20% of the time I'll hear someone that actually has funds just concerned about the actual commitment period. Right, the commitment period is easy because I feel like we can just cut the commitment period down. Right, so the cool thing is, John, I'm not requiring you to commit to 15 months today, right? What I need you to do is get into our program, because I know once you're on the inside, it's going to be a whole lot easier for you to make your decision, moving forward, right? So, how about we just get started committing to your first 90 days and let us prove it to you.
Okay.
Right? Easy. If it is the upfront investment, right, it really was just a financial objection the whole time. They're sold on personal training. It's just, I can't afford $4,000 at one time.
Yes.
I completely understand. We're going to run into that all the time. We still want to make sure we go through all three loops, because we want to have them at a high commitment level, started with their program, so that they stay with us forever longer. When we immediately start cutting and slashing out of the gate, and we don't, especially
frequency, we've seen the retention of those people drops pretty significantly, or the length of time they stay with us isn't as long.
And I found even with like once a week client, people that end up doing once a week because it's all they can afford, they're in the gym doing their individual exercise prescriptions. They're in the gym going to the group fitness classes you recommend. Where if we just if we only make it about the cost and the product, and we cut it everything right away, and we don't build up that commitment and build up our value in our program, they don't stick with it, and they're gone in 3 months or 2 months, rather than with us for years actually seeing success.
Correct.
With what they could afford. So if it is the actual price of the program, okay, completely understand. Sometimes with everything going on in your life right now, it may not make sense to invest as much as you really need, but we still want to make sure that we find a solution. So I can give you a couple different options, and if we can find one that works for you, you're still excited about getting started on a program today?
Yes.
Perfect.
And let's preface it, and Andy's doing a good job, obviously, but you want to make sure your one goal on day one is the commitment to the program. You cannot leave the room, the assessment room, until you finish committing to the program. That is your one goal with the PFA. We went over that earlier on the open Q&A. We missed a little bit. you have one thing you have to complete, and it's committing to a program.
Yeah, otherwise we left them worse than we found them.
Yes.
So
they have no navigation to where they're going for fitness.
They're clueless, but we also reminded them of how clueless they are.
Yeah.
So we brought them in, we reminded them of how far they are from their goals, and how much their life sucks, and then we don't actually solve the problem, right? That would be a massive disservice.
Like, and they're gonna leave, be like, the trainer told me I'm fat, I'm out of shape, I have no clue what I'm doing, and I have no idea where to go.
Yeah, screw that guy.
All negative. No do that.
Yeah, we don't want to leave people worse than we find them. So we need to make sure we come to a solution. So from there, I pulled back up the screen, the intake form of kind of how I would tier down. Okay, so I give them two options, and if I'm ever tiering down, I'll typically stick with EFT, because at that point it's actually just about the funds.
Yep.
So if it's just about the funds, I'm not going to have them still buy a 36 pack and just train them less, because then it wasn't about the funds, and I know I didn't do my job. So I'm going to tier down with twice a week and once a week, and I'm going to ask them the ownership question, if they feel like they're ready to take that much ownership on their health and fitness, right? Or would they like a little bit more help out of the gate, right? So when we look at our other options that we tier down to, we could do our twice a week subscription program. So we'd have 8 sessions every month, and then that would require a little bit more ownership from you on your own. We might be able to supplement it with some group fitness classes. Or you'd have 1 day a week where you're with your trainer, where then we're going to try to map out your other 167 hours for you to do on your own. Is that something that you feeling up for already? I mean, I'm willing to try whatever you are, but
I would like to start with that. I think that's a good plan to start. I don't know if I can commit to doing that ongoing.
Start with twice a week?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so I'd like for you to do that for at least 3 months, and then we can revisit it. Does that sound fair?
Sounds fair.
Perfect.
Now, I had some other messages come in on some other objections to overcome. So one is, well, could you just write up workouts and have me do that on my own? So Andy earlier had asked, where do we rate current fitness level, current motivation level? And we saw there's a massive gap there. So you want to re-loop back to the questions you had asked earlier and re-go over that. Well, I wouldn't feel comfortable just letting you do it on your own. You've been doing it on your own for 10 years, and I don't feel like you made the progress you want to make. We talked about having progress this time. Let's try it your first 90 days, and then we can see if you're ready to keep going on your own. It takes 76 days to make a habit stick. Give us at least those first 3 months to make your habits stick. And then it's a negotiation of how much time are we going to commit to spending with each other.
For sure. I find, and just going back and auditing intake forms and auditing PFAs, it's like a recipe for a cake, right? And when I get a red flag objection, something other than money, I know that it's something that I missed earlier on. Like it was an ingredient that I missed. And that's the reason why my cake is bad, if you will. So like if I get to the end and someone's like, I just need you to write me up workouts.
Yes.
I know that I missed
something
early on, and you need to do like a post-mortem.
Yes. We had another message just come in. A person saying, I don't need a trainer. Now, hopefully by the time we get to the room, you showed them the benefits of the trainer. That's why part of the PFA process, we do have a hands-on actual a 10 to 15 minute trial of a trainer. So it might have been something maybe you didn't approach correctly in that time you were with them, but I feel like anyone can benefit from anyone coaching them. So again, you probably missed something earlier in the day of not identifying, hey, what would be their exact benefits of having a trainer? Why would they even want you?
For sure.
So you got to identify that first 10 minutes. What's your angle? What is your benefit of being with this person? Is it the motivation, the accountability? Is it exercise progressions? Even if you have a really fit person and they know how to work out, well, people don't work with us for education. They work with us for the ongoing progressions and the improvements.
For sure. You need to create that juxtaposition up front. And it's like Inception where I asked you, what are all the things that you've tried in the past, essentially?
Yep.
Right. And you told me everything. Man, it sounds like you've tried everything. Just out of curiosity, why have you been opposed to working with a fitness professional? Or out of curiosity, why haven't you pursued the help of a professional? And let them tell you, and then ask you, so, hypothetically, if we were to team up with you this time, what would you find most valuable? And then you told me 4 or 5 things. Awesome. If we could provide those things in your program, what would make you hesitate about working with a professional this time? Right. And you said, other than finances, nothing.
Right.
Perfect. So I know it's already sold. It's just a matter of figuring out a financial plan that works.
Yep.
They're never going to come back with a silly objection like that. Like, can you just write me up workouts?
Right.
No, because it would be a cognitive dissonance for them to go back against what they had said earlier.
Yes.
People don't like saying
they can't contradict themselves.
No.
If they do, it's usually they realize, well, you're right. I did say that. I can't stick with my viewpoint now. literally contradict
For sure.
myself. So
it's a psychological principle called attack and confess. So even like if you're going through the floor, right, maybe you're having this conversation on the VO2 is something that I'll do often, right? And we'll bring up about them getting started, right? Can you believe so many people, like they come in, they have all these great intentions and they share these grand goals with me and whatnot. And then 30 days from now, like you never even see them, right? Can you believe someone would do that, right? To where they'd be so stubborn about getting started on a program that they don't ask for help.
Yeah.
Like, no, I can't believe people would do that, right? And then they've now created a thought anchor that they're not going to contradict later.
One thing that Andy, you do a really good job of this is you talk about consensus. Hey, these are our most popular packages. Most people, when they start with a trainer. Yeah, you look around, there's purple. I mean, you do a lot of things that get consensus, and just when people start at West Central, they have a trainer. At Rock Road, we do the same thing. Right. So creating that expectation of like, well, this is how everyone does it. Oh, no wonder so many people get fit here. Now, sometimes we understand you're coming in, like you're restarting a program, but conveying to them, well, this is what people do that actually get fit. I think the more consistent you are with that, easier it is. So
100%.
Any other objections we need to loop? I didn't get any other messages in.
The cool thing is if you really drill these loops with your trainers, regardless of the objection, it's the same process. So it's very easy to teach even like a brand new trainer that's never done this before to just go through this and almost make it the goal to hear no. Right. Not that it's the actual goal to hear no, but then they're not surprised. So oftentimes so many like trainers are so scared of hearing no.
And once they hear no, they just jet and say, well, we'll schedule. Yeah, see you later.
Right. Or they hear no. And instead of like questioning it and sticking to their actual prescription, they immediately start dropping. And it actually makes them appear more salesy to the customer. Because they're not prepared yet. So one of the great skills that we can work on with our teams to build their confidence is this conversion ability. Even though their actual conversion ability will be delayed in how it actually improves, you'll build conviction right away. We've included in the consult framework a checklist for the PFA that where you can either do a post-mortem on a PFA that was missed, or you can use it as a practice tool with your trainers as they're doing, live firing with each other, or they're just practicing, right? We say it all the time, but if Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant had to show up before games to still shoot free throws, we should be practicing our PFA skills on a regular basis, if not only for the fact that it builds our belief, but because it allows us to impact more people. So
the more we double down on our conviction, then we grow in total people into the program, keeping them in the program and repeating that process.
We're not just selling on the PFA.
It's ongoing.
Forever.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's another thing. Even with your trainers, you want to coach on. Even with FMs, we need to make sure we're communicating that. So
for sure.
Thank you.
That's it.
Yep. I think it's good.